Hey everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between working with the goddesses as an archetype and working with them in ritual. So when we work with goddesses as an archetype, it's, in my experience or understanding, more of a psychological tool of saying, this is the type of woman, do you fit into this, and in my experience, like, it can be limiting because I think sometimes when we give someone a label and we say you are this or you are that, we can only perceive them through the lens of that label. And at the same time, it can be useful because it can help us to quickly and easily understand a person and maybe know what they need to support them in their experience of the world or, whatever. So with any tool, I think it's useful to know A, how it helps us, and B, what its gaps or limitations are so that we can decide, how to work with that. And with any modality or experience of the world, there will always be gaps. Like, anytime that we take one perspective, there will be gaps. It's just, I think, part of how the world works. But that being said, the reason that it's different than goddess work with a more shamanic perspective is because in the shamanic perspective, we're actually working to meet the being of the goddess, right? And so in shamanism, anything that we work with is a being, right? So, for example, the plant that's sitting behind me, that has its own being, its own spirit, its own energy. When we meet as a collective, there's a collective being that exists in that. There's, for example, when I design a training, it's the being of the training. So when we work with the goddess energy, we are working with a being, an energy. And they, to some extent, have agency in how they show up. And we also have agency in how we show up, and we can set boundaries with them and that kind of thing, which I'll talk about in another video at another point in time. But we're working in a relational sense with this being, right? We're trying to understand how we relate with them, how we can work for them, how they can work for us, and not that it has to be transactional exchange, but we can listen to their wisdom or we can receive their wisdom. And it's a little different than working with the archetypes, because I often think with archetypal work, it's like, what category do you fit into and what practices can support that category? Whereas, with this, it is working in a slightly different realm and from a slightly different perspective. So if you have any questions about that and about more differentiation between those two experiences of the goddesses, please let me know. I would love to hear your questions on this or what you want to know a little bit more about. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.